Hello, thank you for being here with us today to discuss enterprise GenAI solutions. I am very, very happy to be on this panel together with Dr. Stavros Vassos, CEO and founder of Helvia.ai, Dr. Lilian Balatsou, Conversational Intelligence Chapter Lead at Vodafone, and Sandy Papadimitriou from UC Berkeley, who is now a deployment strategist at Palantir. And we are going to start by giving each one of our members here, and I'll take a minute also of that, to talk about what they and their companies are doing in the conversation AI space, broadly speaking, and how important such initiatives are for their respective companies. 3 minutes each, really strictly. And we may start as you're sitting, and then I'll do the opposite for the next question, etc.
Thank you so much for the warm introductions. My name is Sandy. I work for Palantir. I am a deployment strategist for the commercial space, which basically means I work for private sector. And I'll be speaking about our AIP offering, which stands for Artificial Intelligence Platform. Of course, this is not just my work. The entire company is working on that. And what we're basically doing is offering AI for our existing product suite offerings, which include our platforms. You might have heard the names: Foundry, Gotham, and Apollo. So what we do is enable users make informed, data-driven enterprise operations, leveraging the exciting power of AI, and the magic sauce happens in our core offering of ontology, the Greek word. So what happens there is that we do 3 layers of operations. The first is enable AI to access data, enterprise data. Then 2 is logic, and 3 is actions. So the first step is to establish real-time data connections with our users' data. We bring it in. Well, actually, they decide what data to bring in, and then we enable AI to access that and use the actual data of the customer to make informed decisions. And this is very important. We can talk about this later, because we want to avoid any instance of hallucination, because we're using actual data. Then the second layer is logic. So we allow AI to access any logic we have built for customers. That includes the traditional algorithms, as well as ML models, and any other models you have built for the customer. And then the third layer that you have on top is enable users to make take informed actions using data, logic, and then the third layer of actions. And this is very, very important, because you want them to have a very cohesive view of what is happening in their operations and leverage AI to drive informed decisions. And I would like to note that all actions are audited, and this is very important for creating feedback loops and then train AI models for future use. So I'll pause here andLl pass it to Lilian.
Thank you for being really careful with the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. That was very concrete. I'll try to follow the same structure. Hi, I'm Lilian. I've been working in the conversational AI industry for some specific and important years before the ChatGPT revolution started. I work now, I'm leading a team that consists of AI experts, designers, and developers, and we are reconstructing the customer support center in both chat and voice applications. One of the things that we're really interested in doing is making sure that we're improving the performance and understanding and production of speech, voice, and text for a language that's not very data-rich, at least in large language models, as Greek. So this is the first thing that we are particularly interested in. A second thing that we are working on and we're interested in is designing AI-optimized user experiences and learning from our our data, understanding where our users in customer support have pain points or are not extremely happy, either with sentiment analysis or some other techniques. And personally, myself, I'm broadly interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So one of the things that I have in my horizon for the upcoming months to follow in a country that has a gender gap as Greece is how we can use GenAI to identify potential biases in employment or in performance within companies, and what kind of tools and approaches we can follow in order to eliminate these biases. I don't know if I'm okay with that.
You're more than okay. Thank you very much. Now, I just noticed this is not Dr. Stavros Vassos. His photo, for some reason, is missing. He has hair.
Thanks. Okay, so hi everybody. Kalispera. I'm one of the two founders of a startup company called Helvia.ai. Since we're, I think, started from Greece, it's an interesting story to say a little bit about the company. We started early on 2016, on building chatbots, different type of chatbots, like the ones we have now. And through these years, we have evolved having a platform that is very detailed and robust to deliver solutions that have to do with chat automations, copilots, assistants for the end users, like customers, customer support, but also for internal operations, for employees of a company and internal operations. And I think it's interesting to say that starting that early, we actually had to find clients abroad. So our first large clients have been, in fact, in the US. One of them is a Fortune 500 company that's been with us since then. And now moving a little bit forward to the last years, we have been following the research in AI. We have a big passion on AI and how that can help in all operations. And we were able last year and the year before that very fast to incorporate these tools and methods and all the different things you need to do to employ large language models in ways that are safe and effective. And in fact, we have a core, let's say, R&D team that works closely on how we can make this usage of models more effective in hybrid pipelines, as they're called. I shouldn't say more now, and we can discuss.
You still have a minute, but it's okay if you don't use it. Okay. So I'll also take a minute to say something about myself, and what I do, even though it's not very common on panels. I've been a researcher and academic in the area of data science for, 25, almost 30 years. And I've been extremely lucky in the last few years to be working with a very high-growth company in this space called Aisera out of Palo Alto that is building, we think it's the leading generative AI platform for enterprise solutions and for the enterprise, including solutions in customer experience, employee experience, AI ops, voice, and a number of other things. And I'm very happy to be working with a relatively large group of very talented folks here in Athens that are doing AI, ML, and LLM solutions. And in general, Aisera is expanding its presence in Europe. A major customer in the telecom space, European customer, has gone live extremely recently. And also the presence in Greece is expanding primarily in engineering. So I'll leave it at that. And then let's go into the questions for the panel. So my first question is, given all your wide experiences, what are the top 2, or even top 1, if you want to expand further on one topic, enterprise need and challenge that generative AI can bring value to?
So we start my way now?
Yes, now
Great.
we start your way. Thank you.
Okay.
And then we'll start from Lilian.
Yeah, maybe I'd like 2 comments on that. The first one is that
3 minutes again, by the way.
Okay.
Yes.
We've seen so many things with ChatGPT and creating images, creating video, reading documents. And in the enterprise, I think everybody is envisioning all sorts of things, like even virtual managers and things that can help every little piece or every bigger piece of operation.
That might be an improvement.
that might be. I won't take a stance on that. Nonetheless, I think generative AI has also another aspect, and that has to do with streamlining, making faster and more effective things that we already know about. Even in simpler cases like customer experience, in the past we had to train special models, we had to do large projects to get the data and make it work, and now we have larger mechanisms and models that can help us make it faster and more effective, and then make it better by hybrid ways. And I think that two things that generative AI can actually help, two challenges. One has to do with, in fact, customer support. That is a very common theme across sectors. And another one has to do with internal operations and all these documents and policies and the evolution of these documents in a company, how that can be managed and how people get access to that more easily. And maybe just to add some things that are useful in either case, I think for customer experience, for instance, it's a challenge to grow sometimes. We don't need to think always about, let me replace maybe part of my workforce to make it more effective, but when you're growing, it's really important to have the digital helpers to help you grow with a mature team that you may have to go forward. I'm not sure if I'm on time.
You have another minute again.
Okay, that's okay. I like discussion, so I'll
okay,
use my minute to come back to you.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I am.
Lilian, thank you.
Thank you. I agree a lot with Stavros. We do have a lot of overlap as well in what we do. Customer experience is definitely a huge use case, even in understanding customers more and improving the performance of large language models, again, for languages that are not very data rich. Another important thing that I see that organizations can locate value is, I hinted it a little bit in the beginning, but it's also identifying potential biases or things that are not going well within the organization and building data-driven approaches in order to improve these things. Imagine if we had tools that can monitor hiring and performance and didn't take into account any fixed symbolic, let's say, things such as gender, race, or years of employment. They were basically mostly counting on performance and skills and potential, or potentiality even. Another important thing that I think GenAI can help large enterprises is personalization in many, many things. As you can imagine that we can personalize learning experiences inside a classroom in XYZ number of years, we can also invest in personalizing strategies, personalizing campaigns, personalizing content, personalizing user experiences. So by creating content and relying on what goes well existingly in the organization, and with attaching predictive models and creating content tailored for specific groups in B2C, for instance, I think that this can be a huge win for organizations, also in micro-targeting, but also into understanding their customer bases much more effectively.
Thank you very, very much. And Sandy?
I definitely echo what both of you said.
You can't all say customer experience.
No.
I mean, if you do, I'll do another round for a second one.
In my mind, the number one need and priority is to enable both technical and non-technical users drive enterprise operations in the most secure and cost-efficient way. Right now, what is happening? Competition is insane. We have companies amassing a record of both structured and unstructured data, and what are you going to do with that data? How are you going to leverage it for both organic growth as well as making sure you save on cost cutting, like all those things. So then the challenge is, yes, that sounds great. How can I actually do it? And again, speaking about my company and what we do, at Palantir, security is our core foundation of our technology. This is why we're in business. It's number one priority to have a very secure environment, that no data leaves our ecosystem, because if you and I go to ChatGPT and we write a question, that data leaves our environment, and then it's used for training the future generations of models. But in our case, our environment is extremely secure, and this is why our customers are relying on us and trust us. And then as far as costs are concerned, we work very closely with our partners, which are customers, to find the most efficient way, because those, like a lot of times, requests are expensive. We know that. And we work with them very closely to make those operations as efficiently as possible. And also, not only we don't restrain them, but we actually encourage them to use more than one model for two reasons. Then one is to make things more cost efficient, but also make models as robust as possible, because as you might are familiar with, that not a single model is perfect. So your workflow might actually need more than one model to make it as powerful as possible. And also that helps you adapt as more and more models are coming out. You don't have to manually change your workflows, but you can adapt to the new GPT-5 when it comes out. Like, you can adapt to those new models. So I'll pause here, being conscious of time.
Thank you very much. So, okay, for my next question, let's start with Lilian and go right. So what's a generative AI solution that you are involved with in some capacity, as a platform vendor, solution vendor, customer, partner, ISV, whatever?
Okay. So one of the things that I'm currently interested in, or to an extent involved in, is refining understanding and refining performance of large language models in Greek, which can sometimes have limitations. I'm involved in multiple. I'm going to briefly explain a lot of them. So we do see that sometimes in natural language understanding development, we have language-specific constraints, or even sometimes business-specific constraints, or design-specific constraints. GenAI can come and widen and broaden these constraints. Another thing that I'm interested in and working on currently is understanding pain points in user satisfaction by analyzing and segmenting a large amount of data throughout an entire experience. So I think that GenAI has the capacity to aggregate and combine multiple data sources. Imagine that you have a user in chat that has also called voice, a voice channel in IVR, for instance, and then they were transferred to an agent, or they interacted with an application. All the sources of knowledge, fun fact, many times are not combined within an organization. I think that's a pain point that GenAI can come and complement and can locate common problems from multiple sources, or multiple user paths that are not pretty obvious at first glance. So it can really help identify the pain points apart from the visual. Okay, I have an XYZ number of drop-offs. Sorry. And an additional thing that I'm happy that retrieval augmented generation RAG models and the new AI era that we're currently experiencing is allowing us to do is build a more personalized experiences with context. One of the biggest challenges, I think, especially in conversational AI, is what do we do with context, right? We have users that have previously called. It's hard to implement all this manually, or that users that have multiple serial requests that may not be connected at first glance one to another. So that's an additional thing that I'm currently interested in working on, or perhaps working on, about context and how we can combine user inputs and build something that's concrete and predictive and proactive instead of reactive.
Thank you very, very much. And yes, Sandy?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I work for the private sector. I've worked on many customer accounts. Even though of course, we partner with developers and engineers from our customer side, we always work hand in hand with the business folks, and we always have them in mind when we're doing use case scoping, building, and then rolling something to production for the customer. So our customers include hundreds of Fortune 500 companies, as well as small and medium-sized corporations. Some of the use cases that come to mind are building AI-powered operations for a major US airline to make quick on-the-fly changes on their schedule of the flight, maintenance, and crew scheduling. Another one is for AVs. If you have ever rented a car, that car must have required maintenance, so we power AI, again, workflows for maintenance scheduling for both predictive and practice. And another use case that comes to mind is for a multi-billion-dollar manufacturing company. We did inventory management as well as emissions management use cases for them. So we are industry agnostic. We always approach every use case with entrepreneurial spirit, and we can definitely talk about that afterwards. Yeah.
So
for examples, yeah.
I'll ask a follow-up question here, very quick one though. So these are very disparate use cases.
Yes.
How flexible is the platform? I mean, and how much does the platform cover before sort of solution folks take over?
Yeah, so most of it's already pre-built in the platform. It's economies of scale. We offer that folks will buy a license, and then we have also internal engineers who will be building with the customer tailored use cases for them.
Okay.
But yes, but again, we're industry agnostic. But yeah, most things are pre-built, and we have very, very brilliant product engineers who have worked on this product offering we're giving to our customers for almost 20 years now.
So Stavros.
Great. So following up on that, I'd say that, well, of course, we're doing things in conversational AI and in chatbots, so we have to work over all these large language models and the machinery around it. And one thing that we have a lot of focus on our platform is to take away all this complexity from the client. Of course, the enterprise clients want things to be tailored, but there's different layers of things that you can work on. And one aspect of it is perhaps not to work on the low level, on the pipelines, on the retrieval augmented generation or anything, even though there's ways to configure that. But another one is, what is the high level UX authoring tool, editing tool that you actually specify the behavior? So what happens if you have lots of data and you want the chatbot or assistant to respond from them, but maybe in some cases you don't. Some cases you want a generative response, some others you want to do a more particular workflow, some others you want. So these kind of things, if you're actually coding them or if you're doing them through services, they're easy to build and a little bit more difficult to maintain. But if you want to abstract them to something that is as easy as somebody seeing an editor and editing and changing things on their own has a lot of effort, and that's one direction that would put a lot of our attention, so that these new tools that have come out can actually be in the hands of the people that are the business owners, not the technical or AI owners. So that's one direction. Then another direction is more R&D, let's say, has to do with research. And it comes from the very basic fact that when you call one of these large language models, like an LLM, like a GPT family 3 or 4 or something, it costs. And it costs every time. Every single time that you call and you're using it to give a response, it has an operational cost. And sometimes you can save that cost. There's easy ways, like if you say hello and you have another 500,000 people say hello, you don't have to go through the LLM again, right? Or if you have the same people asking, or the same type of people asking the same question, maybe in different domains, but has the same answer, you don't have to go through all this machinery that you may have seen in other talks before. That's not just a call to an LLM. It's a big chain of things. It's a lot of things involved. And we have developed, along with our collaboration with the university here, some new tools and mechanisms so that even if something is not exactly the same like what you've handled in the past, you can actually make a decision and give an answer faster than going through the LLM and effectively getting the whole system to work in a more cost-effective way, in a more efficient way. So I'd say that at the core of using large language models, conversational AI solutions, there's lots of technical stuff. We try to abstract the technical stuff for business owners. We try to make them faster, and this comes out in our use cases and the things we bring about. And just to give an example, we have one client that we're able to get in 5 or 6 countries within maybe 2 months' time and handling more than 1.5 million messages per month without having to go through, let's say, the more painful process that we had to do that in the past with building models and going lower level into many of the details to fix them.
Thank you very, very much.
I probably used one of those minutes now.
Yes, you see, that's
Okay.
good. So, okay, third question. From your different vantage points and different roles in the ecosystem, what do you think are or should be the major considerations in a buy versus build decision when it comes to GenAI solutions and platforms, for that matter? So let's start, I don't know, with Sandy again.
That's the million-dollar question. Great question. So in my mind, yeah.
And then to Stavros, sorry. Just to
run the
switch
mind.
everything. Yeah.
So I think companies should take three things into consideration. First, how urgent do you want something? Number two, what are skills required to build something? Do you have them in-house? And three, overall, how much are costs compared to hiring a vendor, to buying something, or building something in-house? Just elaborate on those 3 points. Number one, if you want something urgently, then you might not have the luxury of time to invest the resources to build something in-house. And that actually also touches on the second point. AI is a relatively new field. You might be a stellar engineer, but you don't necessarily have the skills and education to build something that is very secure and robust, because it's a very tricky part of as a technology. So as a company, you need to hire niche skills, and that's expensive, and also hiring for those folks is time-consuming, because only a few people who are now capable of building something from scratch. So if something is urgent and you don't have the luxury of time, then you might need to buy something from a vendor. And then at the end of the day, it's economies of scale. What's going to be your expense to build something in-house versus buying from a vendor? Folks, companies like Palantir, we have seen countless of examples of multi-billion-dollar companies that they tried to build something in-house. They hired a team of 30 very smart engineers, and they spent more than 13, 14 months trying to build something. And the results of that team of 30 engineers, again, very, very smart people with great educational backgrounds, the results that they built in those 14, 15 months was only 30% of what we were able to deliver only after 1 week or 2 weeks of work. I just had I just spoke to a customer, we did an AIP bootcamp. This is what we're doing now for customers. What we built for them with only a short amount of time was mind-blowing for them, because they had, again, allocated so many resources without even exceeding the 30% of results we got back to them. So this is, I think each corporation has to really think about this and see how that economical decision aligns to the strategical goals and what will be the best solution for them at the end of the day. But again, this is a million-dollar question.
Thank you very much. Stavros.
Right. I think you said a lot, a lot of what I would say as well, all of it maybe. But let's do this. I think that it's not just a simple, 0-1, like either build or buy. I think we are, just starting to build the new technology stack that is necessary for powering, let's say, LLM-based AI, GenAI-based applications, and it's not that simple. So maybe I can abstract it a little bit on the top of my head. So the last layer, perhaps the lowest one, is the infrastructure, so where the models run and they get trained. Then there's another layer, like which model will you take? Will you build it yourself? Will you take another one? Then there's a lot of tooling. There's a lot of things that go on. It's not just an LLM and API and it works. So there's a lot of things there as well, another layer. And then there's another layer on top, which is building the application. And sometimes we tend to think like, yeah, it's a chatbot, for instance. That's it. It's there. It's running on the website. But how about the administration of it? How about the governance of it? How about the visualizations of what's happening? So building the app at the end, if you want to build all the way, it's really big, it's really a lot. And I think it depends on what you want to do, where you build and buy. So maybe a simple example. If you want just to get nice replies on your email, that they're going to be built in anyway from the email providers, but let's say that, then if the reply is as good as just trying ChatGPT and getting the response, then you can probably buy the layer that is infrastructure, buy the model, buy OpenAI or somebody else, and just build a small widget in your system where you want this email to be created. So that's an easy solution. If you want something that's cutting across, and maybe it's on a sector that you may want to have also, more specialized LLMs or more detailed things to do, then it's a bigger investment. And there's vendors hunting for that now. It's even difficult for vendors to do that, right? They're rushing to get things ready so that they can sell it to enterprises. So there's a lot of things going on. And I think it has to do with how deep an organization and an enterprise wants to consider itself in the future as an AI provider. We had similar discussions in the past about if an enterprise is a tech company or not. You may be, selling loans, but you're a tech company. And I think we're going to have similar kind of dilemmas, like whether an organization that's large enough, that has the power to do that, is actually going to invest to have an ongoing team that will take all that effort of these 30 engineers and will sustain it and will be on front. And that's not just building a product, that's really changing your organization. So we feel that at least now that the tech stack hasn't really settled, it's probably better to buy. Well, we're vendors, we're preparing things like that. We're vendor friendly, by the way, so we do things that you could just import in your product because we think that's the fastest way for products to get AI ready. But on the other hand, this is a great new world, and if companies and organizations want to really invest on AI, it makes sense to touch at least upon all the layers, to be knowledgeable. That's the only way to be knowledgeable, actually. Otherwise, you really see things from far away, and some things seem very easy sometimes, or others seem very far away, even if they're not. So I would say that I used all of my time, and
finish your sentence.
Yeah, okay.
No, finish your sentence.
It's fine.
Okay. So, yes, Lilian.
I'm left. I don't know what I'm going to say. You covered a lot, but I will say a couple of thoughts. Of course, it has to do with sustainability. I think Sandy hinted it, of course. If we want sustainable solutions that are in-house and we can monitor and we can have ownership over the years, it's better to build. If we have the team, the capacity, if we're concerned about security, data, multiple other reasons, it's better to build. If we want to use GenAI or AI applications in a similar manner as we're outsourcing a CRM system, then it's better to buy, right? Who's going to build a CRM system from scratch? One very important thing that it's perhaps directive into helping companies on whether to buy or build is that the know-how and the understanding and what to use and how to use the systems and all the things that are peripheral apart from the technology itself, I think that just should stay within the company. I think we all agree in that, right? And in the era of large language models and technology and models like BERT, are we still going to build things from scratch in Caldi for ASR? It's a joke. It's a joke. It's supposed to be a joke for nerds. But in the era where we are very platform-based and we have huge capabilities out there, do we really need to invest into building things from scratch for large enterprises? Perhaps not, unless that's something very niche. But I think that I want to say this, that's my manifesto, and I know I'm derailing a little bit, but I want to get it out of my chest. I don't think that every company should start investing and adopting GenAI solutions because it's trendy. I think that's a big problem, and it hinders many, many risks. The most immediate and the first one is not hitting the ROI goals. I think first, in order to effectively adopt these solutions, which we should have digital transformation, AI in place, in order to enhance a GenAI application. I don't want to see companies operating in two modes. We cannot build cognitive enterprises merely just because it's something that, it's hot right now. It will give us some wins and some profits, but it will enhance the existing issues that exist within the companies, and it should be aligned with a larger technology strategy for a company. I know it's a little bit off, but I wanted to mention it because I'm seeing it, and I think
part of it. It is part of a build versus buy decision, which is wait, right? It's a third option.
Don't do anything.
Yeah, no,
wait.
Do it smartly.
Yeah, strategize, right?
Strategize. Greece has, we're not Silicon Valley in that sense. We do have good companies. We do have great potential. It's the thing that we should be careful is how we're going to make the most out of these technologies. We should do it smartly. We shouldn't repeat the issues of digital transformation.
Of course. So I'm going to turn it over for questions, but first I want to ask one last question. 1 minute answers, please. What do you consider the most exciting technical development in AI in the last, let's say, 12 or 18 months? And let's start with Stavros, and then Lilian, and then Sandy.
Right.
And different vantage points, right? You closer to the research, right? You Lilian from a big company using primarily these solutions, and you again from a vendor building from the strategy standpoint. So
well, I guess not getting too technical. The obvious thing, my past is on research. I'm passionate about AI, about language AI, about conversational AI. I think what has been happening the last 2 or 3 years, and is more apparent the last year, with these new ways of having models that they have read everything in the world, and then they can
You're not allowed to say LLMs. I should have said that. You're not allowed to say LLMs. Otherwise, I'm going to have 3 answers. ChatGPT is the biggest thing that happened. So.
Right. Well, there's lots of things in LLMs, though. There's all sorts of technical things that come into place, and I think what we'll see as we go forward is that we'll be able to streamline these things even better, and I'm very excited with what's happening with the open source community. We see that there were some things that came out, and then the whole community is on top of it, and we see 10 new techniques every day. Just that, I think, the fact that this is moving so fast, for me, is the most exciting thing, and not a particular aspect of it.
Thank you.
We really don't know what's going to be more exciting to say maybe 6 months from now. So that's exciting.
Okay. Lilian?
GPT. I'm kidding. No, in that direction, like I was... Galileo, for instance, that's benchmarking LLM performance that we can use in order to improve large language models output, the GenAI output and context. Many things are changing, and many new products are developing. I'm more excited about what's coming next, how we can personalize the capabilities of large language models and of GenAI to create niche results. And I'm also very excited about what's coming next into making it more symbolically accurate and a little bit smarter, and face perhaps some issues and some burdens that it had with compositionality, or you know what I'm talking about, of what's coming next.
Okay, Sandy.
I definitely echo that. Of course, we're very excited to see all the new models that are coming out. You might have seen the peak of OpenAI Aisera, promo video, or any other innovations in cognitive vision, cobots, you name it. But at the end of the day, just take a step back and think about, I would personally be excited to see how AI is towards a human-centric decision-making enablement. How all those technologies and models, other than they help folks make an informed decision and help businesses make more informed enterprise operations.
Thank you. So I'll use my role and also answer the question, and I'll be more concrete. I have to admit I'm an Apple fanboy, but nevertheless, even if I weren't, the Vision Pro is one of the 2 most exciting things that I've seen in the last 12 months. And the other one is, and that's more technical, 1-bit quantization. And that's really low level, but it does tell us that you can really reduce the resolution of LLMs and still get similarly good results with much lower cost, even at the biggest LLMs.
And they're close to symbolic, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
so
bridge.
We have a bit of time for questions. I have to admit, Yes, now that helps a lot. I only see one hand in the back, one line in front of the second to last line. Thank you very much. Please tell us also if you're directing the question to a specific person or if it's for everyone.
All right, thank you. I would say to all three. My name is Dimitri Maldazakis. I work at NVIDIA. So my question would be, basically to the second to last question, what would some of the obstacles that would come to your mind as to going directly to the source, especially when you want to build the LLM or you want to build a general level AI? Why would you go, even if you want to buy it, why would you go to a vendor instead of going straight to the source and building a full stack, starting from the bottom, because we know AI is mostly trained on GPUs, and then starting to build on top of that using software and tools from somebody that has designed it on the hardware?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question. If you answer that way, then you are building.
I'm asking basically what would some of the obstacles, some of the things, some of the factors that would come to their mind as to how would they make that
for the
decision.
build decision.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with...
Can I say?
Yes, of course.
The
thank
very
you.
quick, and the first thing that comes into my mind, that it's not a strategic priority by the company. It doesn't have the necessary resources. It doesn't want to invest in resources. It doesn't want to invest in new procedures. It just wants something that works and something that's easy to acquire and use day 1, day 2, day 3. It would be costly and time-consuming the other way around. So that could be one very important reason.
And I just want to add to what Lilian just said that, again, security should be your #1 priority. Like, you might be reading, like, there are unfortunate news coming out every single day of data breaches. And this is a very, very complicated issue that, unfortunately, not every single corporation has the capacity to, again, invest in niche folks who can both build robust AI workflows as well as have a very secure ecosystem internally.
Bots going crazy is also a very common thing, right? Bots being
Yes.
built internally that really go bananas. So
And maybe if I can add something,
yes.
I think that sometimes, especially us that we are in a technical or technological background, we tend to see things from a different perspective than an enterprise who's starting now to understand what is generative AI. So I think maybe the biggest obstacle is that it's tough. It's even tough for the companies that try to build just LLMs. You see what's the competition there. Imagine if you're competing with them to get something better and competing the same pool of resources, the same people, the expertise you need to build, etc. So I think this is somehow an obstacle that is more strategic. You need to decide whether your company is actually going to go for it, really, not doing like a project of 6 months or something. And I think this is an obstacle that, sometimes we overlook if we are on the happy side of using these things. And I just wanted to note.
Thank you very much. We can take a few more questions.
Hello.
Oh, thank you.
So,
and then you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your talk. So I think there are myriads of generative AI applications for enterprises, but this can become a bit confusing, especially for an enterprise owner that is not as technical, and they don't really understand how these applications would fit into their workflow. So I would like to ask you, what would be a good formula if you offer these generative AI solutions to identify in the workflow of an enterprise owner where he should prioritize on taking some of these solutions that you offer? And how would you be able best to ask the right questions to extract where are these spots for the...
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting question indeed.
I can start because actually
yes.
that's my job. So first of all, not every problem is an AI problem. Great question. And most people, like, if you open a news article or any news, every single CEO will mention at least the keyword AI at least once during a 1-minute interview. Like, I can bet on money. I cannot bet on actual money. But of course, it's the hype, but not every problem is an AI. I love AI, that's my job, but we should all agree that not every problem should be an AI problem. So you need to work closely with the enterprise, do extensive use case scoping, understand the needs, the operations, what they're envisioning, of course, add input, and then do some strategy with them and try to approach the problem and see what will be the best course of action. And in most cases, AI will be a great benefit to them, but not every time. It might be just a data issue that doesn't necessarily need a complicated AI workflow.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, maybe I can add something to that direction. I think that it is now the time that we're exploring everything. AI is the hype, and we say, oh, I have this thing that I do 3 steps. How about I put some AI, right? You want to put AI everything, in the salad maybe even. and the thing is that as the hype goes away in every different sector, we end up looking into the actual problem. And maybe the problem is not AI-fying every step of it, but really changing the way we do things. And I think this is a great opportunity into getting to the source and the core of the problem. Like the problem is I have maybe documents and data, I need to serve some people, or I need to get this result. And it's not looking into the process and trying to take each different step and, put a little bit of hype in it. But it's part of the process to do that as well. So let's embrace that, let's see what happens, and think about what will be a new way of solving problems with these new tools that we have.
I'm hoping somebody will mention ROI.
I did before. I said it's not always.
Yeah. So, do you want to add something?
I'm basically covered. I think that
Okay.
identifying opportunities. I hate the question of what should I do to implement AI? Why do you want to implement AI in the first place? Either solving a problem, yeah, but like as an enterprise or as a business owner, either by in order to solve an existing pain point, a problem, or create an opportunity that has to strategically align. You may have to update some business workflows, invest in hiring suitable people, invest in establishing new procedures to make sustainable. Advisors, basically, advisors that are technical and can understand and direct you or whoever you, towards the correct approach, and rather than doing it blindly without literacy in the field.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hi, I'm Tassos. I'd like to ask you about, we've heard many statements about coding is the best job skill that exists at the moment, but some CEOs, of course, saying this coding will be lost in the future because of AI. And from your perspective, the solutions you've implemented to different companies, have you seen your solutions improve the productivity of the workforce? Based on that, have they reduced the workforce or workload, or created new job openings, or what is the applications of your solutions? What was the impact in the enterprise in terms of the job skills? Yeah, you understand my question.
Okay. So who wants to go first?
Well, I think I'd like to usually think of the positive aspect of things. And when you put automations on processes, there's always a gain. The return of investment is always a little time, yes, I know. And I guess your question is on whether people changed or whether money were saved. I wasn't sure where you're...
Yeah, what's the ROI? I think that was the question. And the other question was about whether coding is going away and programmers are becoming obsolete.
Coding. No, I don't believe coding.
Questions.
Coders are going away, or maybe not in the next few years. But in any case, ROI, I think, is clear when you put automations of any kind, and it has to do with each case separately. For us, one easy way to count the ROI is that we see companies grow their operations without having to grow their core teams. So that's one way to measure that.
So jobs are lost, your question.
Are not lost, really.
Not materializing.
Yes, you can put it this way.
Anyone else wants to chime in? Okay.
Just basically, it will transform many jobs. I don't know if coding would still be the most. I don't like predicting. I do believe in the power of coding, especially for women or girls to close a gender gap, where. Fun fact, there is a great diversity there in terms of the GenAI future of work chains, meaning that some jobs that may be fully automated in the future, there are also diversity issues there. So it's actually much more probable to see disproportionality in that. I think that we will need to invest a lot in designing, in creating, in monitoring similar jobs in terms of just building. We are living in an era where we have a lot of off-the-shelf tools and a lot of ready-made logic. I don't know if that helps. I'm done.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I'm an engineer. I studied computer science as my undergrad, and I have to admit that, fortunately or unfortunately, I find myself a lot of times just blanking out, forgetting basic syntax when I'm coding. Of course, Copilot helps there, but the biggest skill that will be really important, and believe it or not, is actually very rare, is for engineers to actually pause, take a step back, and evaluate what they're building at the end of the day, like looking at the bigger picture. So I think that skill, which is both technical and non-technical, is extremely valuable, and this is what companies should be looking for. So you might be a stellar engineer, but if you don't have the capacity to think strategically of what you're building and why are you building something, it won't matter at the end of the day. Yeah.
Or how, like sustainability.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And
No, please.
Our Palantir's co-founders, Peter Thiel, you might have heard him, PayPal, and the PayPal Mafia, and Dr. Alex Karp, they went to law school at Stanford together. That's how they built Palantir. They actually say that the best programmers study philosophy as an undergrad. So something just to leave you at, yeah, because you have that thinking cap. Yeah.
How about you, Vassilis? Do you think coders
30 seconds from me. Yes,
coders are going away?
That. So. Humans in software development are not going away at all, probably expanding the need. The skill will need to increase, but the need is expanding. And as for the second one, at least where I work in Aisera, the major value is not in cost cutting, it's in expanding a company's horizons, making it more productive, allowing it to do more and better of what it wants to do. So there is some cost cutting, but there is primarily an opportunity for companies that exploit and use these solutions to expand. And that's the major value proposition. So I want to thank you all. We went over time by quite a bit, but thank you for participating and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.